Hey everyone, and welcome back to the NintendoFuse Podcast. This is episode 290, recorded on April 19th, 2024 for April 23rd, 2024. We're recording this a little early because we got some different travel things that are interrupting our normal live schedule, but we wanted to make sure that we get you an episode. And on this episode, we're going to be talking all about the Triple I Interactive Showcase and also the Nintendo Indie Showcase, as well as several other headlines. But as far as introductions, maybe you're new to the podcast and you haven't checked us out before. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Steve, and I'm also joined by Barry. Barry, how's it going?
Hey, Steve. Always a pleasure.
And of course, also joined by Greg. Hey, Greg.
Yes, happy to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a lot about those two different showcases and some other headlines that we're going to hit. But again, if you have not joined us for the podcast before, just a couple things we want to let you know. We talk all about Nintendo, and we'd love to have you join in. Typically, we record these live every other Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 5 p.m. Pacific Time. And we go live both on YouTube and Twitch. And we'd love for you to join into the live chat and just throw all your different ideas and thoughts and everything about all the things that we talk about. We love having your interaction throughout the entire episode. Of course, this one's not going to have that, but in the future, we'll definitely be having that, and we'd love for you to jump in. If you've never subscribed to us on your favorite podcast app or over here on YouTube for the video version, I encourage you to do that, as well as following us on social media. And you can find us at NintendoFuse. And then also we have a growing Discord community, and we have the link on the screen here on the video version, but also in our show notes, the YouTube description as well. And we'd love for you to join our Discord and interact in between the episodes. It's a great place to connect with other gamers out there as well. But as always, let's start off with what we have been playing, and we'll go to you first, Greg.
Well, unfortunately, I haven't powered on my Switch since the last podcast, so I know I'm behind on some review games, so unfortunately no updates there. I am really hoping to get some more time into Paper Mario before the next podcast, but in terms of what I actually was playing, it's just been mostly some Roblox games with my daughter, most notably the game Adopt Me. I know we had some fun jokes before the show, but no one will know what those happen to be. But just it's a little pet game where it's like a Tamagotchi simulator type thing where you can feed pets, take care of them, and kind of level them up. It's very light on like RPG aspects and stuff to make them more full grown, as like their terminology uses. So it's like they go from like newborn all the way up to like full grown, like 5 different levels. You can do like various tasks and stuff that's just taking care of them and whatnot. There was like a circus update that was really highly involved and wanted to get some of these special rare monkeys to use as trading as further on down the life of the game. So that was just removed earlier today at the date of this recording. And then pretty much still playing The Simpsons Tapped Out as well. And that's basically about it for me this time around.
All right, lots of mobile gaming for Greg.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. Barry, what have you been up to?
Yeah, I noticed Greg was not on Switch. I was like, oh boy, he's been busy. But I haven't been on Switch much either. Pokemon Unite has been still doing that daily, and I've been playing a little bit of the game Terra Memoria, which is an RPG on the Switch. Been working on that a little bit. But my main focus this past 2 weeks, or almost 2 weeks, has been on the PlayStation 5. Last time I was still playing Rise of the Ronin. I finally finished it. I did not expect to like that game as much as I did. I know a lot of reviewers gave it like a 7 out of 10 and all that stuff. And I'll be honest, I had more fun with it than like probably Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or even maybe Persona 3 Reload. Like I did not expect to fall into this game. It's just the combat is great, the open world is fun, the characters are cool. The biggest problem I feel is the story. It's just a little confusing. Because there's all these factions and you're going between, and sometimes you're pro shogun, after shogun, or anti shogun. You can switch between the two, and people are always changing alliances, and it's always funny to like finish a fight by stabbing someone through the chest, and then then the cutscene plays, and they're perfectly fine, and they're like, oh, like, okay, that's great. But people do die. It's interesting to see certain people that you like get bonds with. They will die in the story, but only in your version of the story. Like you could do events differently, and actually, they won't die, and someone else might die in their place, depending on where you are, because events are still happening. But it is a fun open world adventure, especially if you like, Japanese culture and Japanese landscapes. Highly recommend. I did have one bug where one character didn't fully load, except their arm did, so it was like a floating arm holding a sword for the cutscene. It was pretty funny, and I thought, like, are they using some kind of cloak or something? But then I'm like, oh no, the asset just didn't load. But then they were fine for the fight. Like, it was just a weird one-time thing, but I had no problems otherwise, and
Did you screen cap
highly.
it?
No, I wish I did. I wish I did. I was too befuddled. Like, what's going on?
Too much in
But you know what?
shock. Yeah.
Yep.
So some people posted pictures and said, look, this graphics didn't load here. This game sucks. It's not AAA. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't experience that. I know there have been patches, but you know what? If a graphic doesn't load once or twice, like, I'm not gonna fault a game if it's fun,
Yeah.
and it doesn't affect anything.
Right. As long as it's
But
not happening all the time.
no, it wasn't happening all the time. This happened once for me.
Yeah.
And there was an update, I think, yesterday, and that could have fixed it for all I know. But I did beat it. It was almost 100 hours. I mean, I did virtually everything. I definitely didn't expect to. It was one of those where I'm like, I just want to go through the story and see how it goes to conclusion, and then I'm like, no, there's a cat over there I need to go rescue, and there's a shrine I need to go pray to, and I need some more skill up points, and definitely recommend. But then when I finished that, I went back to Final Fantasy 16 because the final DLC launched yesterday, and so I did Echoes of Fate, no, Echoes of the Fallen, which was the first part that came out in December. That was a short. I was like maybe an hour to two. It took me a little DLC extra. It was fun. Get really awesome boss fight and some really cool remix music. And since it's done by Sochin, who does the 14 music as well, a lot of the themes were like, "This is a remix of a 14 song. Like, that's really cool. I know this already." And then yesterday, as of the time of this recording, the Rising Tides, which is the second part of the expansion pass, launched, and I expected it to be a little longer than it was. I think I finished it in like 3.5 hours or something like that. So I mean, I got some new story, got some fun toys that I've already beaten the game, so I'm not really gonna get to use them. But there is a post game that I'm still working through now. Like, there's a post game to the DLC, and I don't know how far I'm gonna get. It's like a 20 floors of like wave enemies, and I just beat floor 6 before we recorded. So when we're done with this, I'll plan to go see how far I get. But other than that, I was a nice cap off to Final Fantasy 16. I forgot how much I really did enjoy that combat and the customization of it. um I'm not sure if it's terribly worth the full price for both DLCs. But as a Final Fantasy fan, it was to me, but maybe not for everybody else. And I will say the Leviathan fight in the second DLC has what I call a bull mechanic, where there's DPS checks. And this is one of those DPS checks where you have to do everything perfectly. It's not based on gear, it's not based on your level. It's literally you have to do everything perfectly and you barely make it. And I'm like, that's a little cheap. Like, give me some leeway. Everyone should have at least be able to make at least one mistake, but pretty much no. It took me like 5 tries, and I'm like, I had to look up. I'm like, I can't beat this. What the hell? Oh, okay. I got to do that combo first, and like, okay, I wasn't using that particular attack combo. Like, I guess I have to use that, and like, I barely won. I was like, okay. But it was a fun fight overall. Great music, and definitely recommend if you are a Final Fantasy fan. Otherwise, wait for a sale. Outside of that, PC still playing Final Fantasy 14. Ironically, the 16 event is going on, so I'm going to be doing that now that I did this and kind of got back into 16's world. And on mobile, still doing Mario Kart Tour, of course.
Nice. I finally finished Life is Strange 2. So finally wrapped that up. I thought, which is really weird, I thought I forgot that I'd started chapter 5 before. And so I entered in, played it the other day, and was like, I feel like I'm picking up in the middle of a story here. And come to find out, yeah, I'd already played half of chapter 5 some other time that I forgot about. And so was able to wrap it up a lot shorter than I thought I was going to have to sit down for, a couple hours. And I was only done like in less than an hour. And yeah, wrap that up. And I would not put this at the top of my list of Life is Strange games. I think True Colors, even though like what we've talked about before is like the ending is not like drastically different based on your choices and everything. I liked that story a lot more. I liked the experience, and I liked 1 better than 2 as well. 2 is great, but I didn't enjoy it as nearly as much. Clearly because it's taken me like a year to get through it. So the other ones I was like playing nonstop. But it was still fun, and it's nice
There are
to.
4 endings. I don't know if you know about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I picked the one that, yeah, I was good. I mean, because the way your choices line up, you really only have the option at that point to get one of 2, because the
Yeah.
others are based on your decisions up until that point. And so yeah, I was very pleased with my one. The Life is Strange 1, I was really torn. I didn't really
Yeah.
know which one to pick. And Life is Strange 2, I was like, nope,
Yeah.
I know what I'm gonna do. And I wasn't debating it that much.
What did you think about the Easter egg not really Easter, but the Easter egg scenario kind of deal in the 5th chapter, referring to Life is Strange 1 with the cameo
Yeah,
character?
that one, that it did shock me, because I knew there's something earlier in the game that I had already gotten to, and we had kind of chatted about it and everything. And then all of a sudden I was like, I didn't expect this person to show up. Okay. All right. Yeah. So I'll keep it with,
Yeah.
spoiler free, but I was a little shocked to see him. Yeah.
I thought it was great because it like connects the games more.
Yeah.
And there's 2 versions of that scenario with them too,
Yeah.
because based on what you do. So I went to like
Mhm.
YouTube and watched the other one. I'm
Oh,
like,
did
what
you?
what
Yeah.
happened? Yeah, because I
Yeah.
was curious. I was like, what happened with the other
Yeah.
one? But I thought that was really, really cool that they did that to connect them.
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, the way the game ends, at least potentially ends for you, it's like I don't know, what, like we've dreamed about these things coming together, and I don't really know if that's possible with the way Life is Strange 2 ends, at least in most of the scenarios that you can end in. And but I guess they could always just take it in some other direction, and the same could be said about Life is Strange 1, because if you pick one of the endings, like, yeah, that's
Yeah,
not going to connect either. So it all depends on which way you go, I guess.
they would have to make one ending
Yeah,
canon. It's like, I don't know if you ever played the game Infamous.
I
It was on
haven't.
the
No.
PS3.
Yeah.
They had an ending in the end of Infamous 2 that were very different. One was good and one was bad, and they were very, very different.
Hmm.
And when they made Infamous Second Son, they looked at the achievements and the trophies and who like the percentage of good versus bad, and like more people did the good ending than bad, so they made that one canonical
Hmm.
into Second Son. And I was
Hmm.
mad because I like the bad ending better. And I was like, oh man, now my canon is ruined because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
changed it.
That
So
is
they
cool
can do
though that
something different.
they went with the audience, like the player base,
Yeah.
and that kind of influenced it. That's kind of cool.
That's
Um,
kind of like what they do with Splatoon when they do like that. Final Splatfest is like the theme of the next game, so
oh,
it's like it directly impacts like the next thing that they're going for. So like I
that's
think
true.
Splatoon 2 was like Law and Order or something, and
Hmm. Hmm.
That's
so
cool.
it's,
That's cool. Also played Rocket League. They did an update recently, like a couple days ago, out of the blue, and they added boost meters to your teammates' name cards. So before, you just had to, like, if you were talking in a game, you could actually say, "Hey, I've only got 50% boost right now," and you know what your teammates are doing if you could chat. But if you didn't really know. And so now they've got little meters that are right next to your player name, and it shows how much boost they have, 0 to 100%. And so it's really nice to be able to, if you're going by a big boost that will give you 100%, if you look and your teammate who's nearby it already has 100% boost, you know you can go ahead and get it, rather than, are they going to get it? I'm not sure if I should leave it for them or whatever. So it's actually, it's a small little update that's really helped online, especially because even though they do have voice chat now, most people don't use it. And so it's really nice to still be able to communicate in that way, and know where your teammates are and stuff like that. So that was a unexpected but cool little update. They also added the central US servers. Finally, they just had East and West for a long time, and now we have central US. So hopefully that'd be good for people that are out in the Midwest and had issues with ping if they were playing on East or West servers. And then played some Final Fantasy 14. Again, I've not been playing it nearly as much as Barry does, but I am a level 10 archer now. And so I've basically just been doing a whole bunch of just different side quests and going and killing animals and reporting back to people and getting money for that, and sometimes getting a hat. I have a wizard hat now, and I got a new cloak, and I got some fingerless gloves and new boots and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just going through and doing side quests right now because I've progressed just a little bit, clearly, to get level 10, but for the most part, I have not done a ton that's moving the story along.
Yeah, the main story.
But I figured I really need to level up my character and get familiar with where everything is and all that stuff right now. So
Truthfully, if you did just the story missions, you will pretty much be over leveled. Well, you'll hit level cap well before you ever hit the end of the story.
Okay.
It's insane.
Nice.
Because you haven't even done dungeons yet, and dungeons give you a crap ton of experience.
No, and there was a couple things that I needed to do at the very beginning, but the first story element that I hit was yesterday, I think, and I had to walk up and there was this sword that was in a rock, and it entered into this whole cutscene and a fight with some other characters and everything. I was like, oh, this is different, because everything up until that point, I was just going and running, do missions, talk to these people or whatever. One thing that I want to follow up on, last podcast, I talked about playing it, and I thought it said go and talk to someone with a bow, and I was like, I have a bow and arrow. All it's doing is just ... every time I want to talk to this person. Come to find out, I had to do a little searching, found a Reddit thread that said bow, not bow. Which got really confusing because I'm an archer and I have a bow and arrow. And I was like, I'm talking to this person with a bow. I don't know why they're not responding. No, I was supposed to type in bow to this person, and then it prompted everything. So finally got that progress. Yeah. Learned that.
I like. I think that's cool because it kind of world building. It's
yeah. So, just little progress through that. Played some Pokemon Go and also played some Clash Royale. And you're probably going to think, listen to that list, and you're like, I don't think Steve played any Switch this last week either. I didn't. So it's a common theme among all three of us. We barely touched the Switch this last couple of weeks. So yeah, I don't know what it was, but yeah, all three of us, at least Barry, you touched it, but Greg and I
But I was mainly doing my routine thing that I do, you're with Rocket League kind of deal, Pokemon Unite mainly.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing my routine stuff as well, and it's just been a really hectic week. I mean, my fiance had moved in, and we've still been organizing stuff and trying to take care of some access furniture and doing organization and all that kind of stuff. So I really didn't have a ton of time for Switch, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hopefully I'll get some more time. Like I said, I'll be traveling this next couple of weeks, and I'll probably be able to play it in the airports and airplanes and stuff like that. But yeah, it was mostly an Xbox week and a half since the last podcast. Just another reminder, if you have not told us what you've been playing, we'd love to hear it down in the comments on the YouTube video or on our social media or over on our Discord. We'd love to hear what you've been playing as well. Normally we get that in our live chat, but again, this is a pre-recorded episode. So make sure you let us know what you have been playing, because we would love to hear that from you as well. But as I said, let's jump into those headlines. We got 5 different stories we want to make sure that you guys know about in the world of Nintendo.
All right, so Octopath Traveler has officially returned back to the Switch eShop, and just a quick reminder for those that might have missed it in a previous episode, it was delisted just so then, because the rights had changed between Nintendo and Square, so now Square is now the full owners of it, and they've now have it repurchased. So if you have not checked out this game, it's pretty fantastic, and there is already a sequel out on Switch as well too, but now you can check out the original on Switch once again.
Yeah, and speaking of sequels, the long-awaited Hollow Knight Silksong is still not announced of when it's coming, but it has been rated in both Korea and Australia, prompting people to speculate when it's coming. And all that is unfortunately speculation, because nothing has been said officially. Keep waiting.
Another thing you're going to have to wait for is World of Goo 2. Tomorrow Corporation posted the other day that unfortunately they want to enhance the game just a little bit more before they release it. So they've now had to push the release date back to August 2nd, 2024. They're very proud of this game and they want to make it the best they can. So, as we talked about before, if it's making the game better, I guess we can, have some patience for it. But yeah, just a little longer for World of Goo 2.
And speaking of delays, Nintendo is actually not going to Gamescom. So previously they have been in attendance every single year, but apparently for 2024 they will not. So I guess you can say they delayed their next stay until next year. So unfortunately, no big news from Nintendo, but we also don't know what's coming out later this year as well too. So they might have their own presentation for further announcements.
But you know what is coming out? New Nintendo Switch Online Super Nintendo games, and they're already out. We've got Super R-Type, which is the only actual US release game, and then we've got the amazing Habareke and Wrecking Crew 98 for the Super Famicom, all on the American or North American SNES NSO app. So it's still trickling stuff, but at least there's still content, and this is part of the lower tier, so more people can enjoy.
Nice. Greg, any further thoughts on any of these stories?
I'm just been very patiently waiting for Hollow Knight. So like when I caught like that headline to share with the podcast crew here, I was pretty hoping that there would be some sort of announcement or even be seen in the showcase that we'll be talking about in a little while. But it's I guess if it's being rated, it means it's nearly code complete. So hopefully the release is not too much farther around the corner. But yeah, I mean, as you had said, the World of Goo 2 being delayed, I mean, just makes it a hopefully better game and better experience. So there's that, and it's always great to really see the SNES Online App get some more titles to be part of its library, and that's pretty much the main thoughts. I mean, yeah.
Nice. Barry, how about you?
Yeah, I actually forgot I did play a little Wrecking Crew 98, so I did use the Switch a little bit more. But yeah, I think it's great to see more SNES games, and especially more games that we never got. So it allows us to officially play, more games. I just wish they were translated. That would have been wonderful. But it's always good to see that. World of Goo 2, I never really played the first one, but I've heard good things. And like you said, I'd rather a game be delayed and make it better than rushed. Hollow Knight Silksong is a game I'm not really interested in because I did not enjoy the first game. Maybe if I go back to it, I will. But I want it to come out so that everybody's happy. It's just like, come on, come out for everybody else. It's not for me.
Yeah.
Um, glad Octopath was brought back. We figured that would, and it's interesting that Square is now doing the ownership thing again. And as for Gamescom, to me, that's even more telling. I mean, we've talked about how no new games past June that we know about, and how this year most of the games are remakes or ports. And now, no new direct, and there's the indie world, but still no new direct. And the direct we did get this year was not a full blown direct; it was a partner direct, and Yeah, these are all telling. Like, if they're not going to show up at Gamescom, that means they've got nothing to show at Gamescom, and they're not going to waste their time flying to Germany to set up to show Luigi's Mansion 2 again or whatever. Like, it's not worth it to them. So they have something brewing, and they want to make the announcement the way they want to. And this also further leads me to believe there is a delay, because if the Switch 2 was coming, this would be a time that they could show it off and get hands-on experience. And if it's a delay, then they don't want to show it off, so they're just gonna skip all entirely. So buckle up, we might be in for 2016 Part 2, the second half of this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
No kidding.
It's true. I have no idea what it means, but I'm right there with you. I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And yeah, maybe it means they're holding off or something. You know, we could be optimistic. They're holding off. They're going to do their own big announcement a little later because this is bigger than Gamescom and they want to make some huge thing about it. But you know, the realistic thing is probably it's all telling that it's going to be a huge delay and they're just going to ride out the rest of 2024 and we'll see what happens in 2025 or 2026 if that matter. So, yeah, happy to see Octopath Traveler back. Of course, I'm with you. I'm like, I wasn't that excited about Hollow Knight, but you know, glad people get it. But yeah, that wasn't for me. World of Goo 2, I'm excited to eventually play that game. And like I said, if it's something that just makes it better, then okay, I can wait a little longer. That's fine. And yeah, I'm probably going to be playing some of these SNES games while I'm traveling. Super R-Type was a game that I played so much on my SNES, and so that'd be cool to be able to take on the go with me now. And I didn't even know that Wrecking Crew '98 game existed, and so
Yeah,
that was a big surprise.
especially considering '98, the 64 launched in '96, so that's 2 years after the 64 launched.
Yeah, so that'd be fun. Did you enjoy it? The little
I,
you played?
I mean, it was fun. It was a puzzle game. It was nothing to write home about. Like, it wasn't like this is the best puzzle game in the world. I mean, it's kind of fitting considering the final NES game we got was
Hmm.
Wario's Woods, a puzzle game, and I loved Wario's Woods. It's stressful, but I loved it. So it's kind of like fitting. Like, oh, we're doing the same thing with the Super Nintendo, just we didn't get it over here.
Hmm.
Assuming it's the last game they put out for the SNES or the Famicom.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it would have been easier if I knew everything going on, like I knew what I chose in the menus and stuff. It's all Japanese, and
Hmm.
the story. There's a story to this, and it's really weird watching Mario have cutscenes talking to characters, and you have no idea what they're saying because it's all Japanese text. So I don't know what the story is, but there is a story to this game.
Nice.
That's very interesting because I thought they've like previously translated other ones like Earthbound and some other ones.
They did Earthbound Beginnings as a big deal for the Wii U. So when they
Well,
brought
yeah,
it, they,
yeah, but yeah, I mean they also did the original Fire Emblem.
yeah, they did, and then they took it away.
Yeah.
So no, they with the NSO apps, they don't really do that. They just throw up there, here's the Super Famicom version or the Famicom version or whatever, and
Hmm.
you're left up to you to figure it out.
Hmm.
I mean, I thought that's kind of why we don't have Mother 3 because I mean, if they're not going to
Right.
translate it, then can't they drop it on our
Just
app
throw the
here?
Japanese one up there. Yeah.
They could. I mean, you could do the Japanese app and play it though. But that's a story-driven game. There's a difference between a game that you could sort of figure out without needing the
You
language
can still
barrier
get by.
versus, that you could. I don't think you'd be able to get by with Mother 3 without knowing what the hell's going on. At least you might be able to beat it, but you wouldn't have any idea what was going on.
Right. Nice. Well, let's jump into our main discussion. And we got two different showcases to walk through on this episode and discuss a little bit. So, Barry, take it away with the Triple I interactive one.
Sure. So the Triple I Interactive happened on April 10th, the day after our last podcast. We talked about it. This is a group of people, different companies got together to do their own showcase, which is really awesome. And they wound up releasing a bunch of games, or at least showed off a bunch of games. So the list we have is in alphabetical order, so it's not necessarily the order that they were shown off in the showcase. So if you're following along with the actual thing, it's going to be a little harder. But I figured we'd take a couple games at a time and go through it. So the first game they showed off, or the first alphabetical game they showed off, was 33 Immortals from Thunder Lotus. That's having a closed beta coming, and early access is later this year. So hopefully that this hits Switch as well. Thunder Lotus games usually do. Broken Roads was launching across PC, and again, this one I'm not sure if it's hitting Switch, but there's always a chance, or Switch too. Brotato is, I believe that already is on Switch, is getting DLC, the Abyssal Terrors DLC, and local co-op update. And then Cat Quest 3, which is something that we're going to talk about again, is coming later this year, and that is definitely on the Switch. So from those 4 games, 33 Immortals, Broken Roads, Brotato, and Cat Quest 3, what did you think, Steve?
There were very few games that stood out to me in this entire presentation. Probably say that Broken Roads was one of them, but at the same time, because it wasn't Switch, like at least they didn't say anything about it being on Switch or whatever. I paid a little bit of attention to it, but it was like it looks good, but yeah, nothing really stood out to me. So I think they're all quality games, but none of them really grabbed my attention.
What about you, Greg?
I pretty much share those same sentiments. I mean, I don't know if we'll do Cat Quest here, but that one is one of the few that I took out of at least this presentation that I'm interested in. So, um, I don't. Yeah, I mean that was the main one that stood out to me. At least it was also one of the very few that was definitely fully confirmed for Switch as well. But you never really know with the other ones. So I know you said Bro Potato was already out
I
on
believe
there,
it
but
on the Switch.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like a
Cat Quest.
running
Cat
held
Quest is awesome.
type game.
Cat Quest is awesome. I can't wait for Cat Quest 3. That was the standout here for me. I mean,
Cool.
the first 2 I played on Switch. They're awesome action RPGs, so much humor. So this one's cool with the whole pirate thing, or the pirate thing. Just such a cool idea.
I think I
So
have 1 or 2 or maybe both of them, and I don't really remember playing them much. So I'm like, I probably shouldn't get the third one if I haven't even barely touched the first 1 or 2.
I got the double pack of the physical, and just I couldn't put it down. I'm like, this is so much fun. So then moving on, we've got Cataclysmo, which is from the creators of Moonlighter and the Magic Seeker. That's starting to come to PC, but I can't imagine it not going to Switch, because Moonlighter did. Darkest Dungeon 2, sequel to Darkest Dungeon, is going to be a new campaign mode update. That again, that first one came to Switch. Death Must Die Act 2 was revealed. This is a definitely interesting action game. I don't think this showed what system it was coming to, but it could always come. And then finally, Dino Lords. It's a real-time strategy game, and again, I don't know if they actually said what consoles. So we'll do you, Greg, first. What did you think of these 4? Anything stand out?
Nothing in particular. I mean, I do know like the strategy games do kind of hit that itch, but I also felt like there was a pretty overwhelming theme of like this, like at least that kind of led it looked like it was a number of these are like strategy, like build type games and defend and or even like go conquer other villages or a lot of that like fast paced and like really repetitive and type gameplay. So um yeah, like the Dino Lords did seem kind of somewhat interesting because it like you are using dinosaurs and stuff. But if it's not coming to Switch, it probably be just kind of lost in the limelight here.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm
Mm,
I'm I'm with you. Like nothing really again stood out to me. There really were only just a couple games that stood on this whole thing, and I think Darkest Dungeons was one that grabbed my eye. I don't know if I'll actually play it or not, but as I was watching it, it was like that looks kind of cool. But again, not sure if it's coming to Switch. It's good to know that the first one did,
Yeah.
so that's good to know that it might. Might get the second one as well. But I think of all of them, that's probably the only one that kind of grabbed my attention. But really, yeah, this section was kind of, yeah. It was like they all look great again, but nothing grabbing me.
Yeah, I haven't played Darkest Dungeon 1, but it did look good, and it was just one of those that there's too many games that it fell on the wayside, and maybe I'll go back to it. But I thought 2 looked good, and Dino Lords, that gave me Dino Riders vibes, man. I was back in the 80s, because I loved that show as a kid, and I was like, this looks interesting. So hopefully it does come to Switch. The next set of games, we've got Dyson Sphere Program has free content coming. Again, I think that one might be PC. End Zone 2 gameplay reveal trailer. Again, I think that was a PC game. Flintlock: The Siege of Dawn. This one looks really interesting. It's coming out this summer, but I don't think there's a Switch title, but I think Switch 2 might be a possibility. And Gestalt: Steam and Cinder. This is an epic journey. It's a handcrafted action RPG. Looks phenomenal, and I don't think they showed systems, so maybe Switch. What about you, Steve? Anything here grab your attention?
Yes, actually they did. Gestalt looks good. It's a Metroidvania kind of like inspired, so like those games always kind of grab me a little bit. But the one that totally grabbed my attention was Flintlock, and I doubt, looking at that gameplay, I doubt that's going to be able to run on Switch. But it looked really good, and yeah, I don't know. Was this the first? I can't remember. Was this a world premiere, or had we
It
known
might have
about
been.
Flintlock before?
I think it was a world premiere.
Okay, so yeah, I didn't know anything about it going in. Totally shocked, and yeah, this was one of the ones that did grab my attention. I want to know more about this for sure, but yeah, chances are it's not going to be coming out on Switch. Like you said, maybe Switch 2. The other games are, yeah, more of those like top-down PC-driven games. I don't even have a PC to run those games on, so yeah, not going to be playing Dyson Sphere Program, for instance. But again, looks like great quality game, but not for me.
Yeah, I pretty
Greg?
much kind of share those same thoughts. Most of them are like obviously they do look very high quality and look a lot of fun, but I don't really have a computer to run those. For me, the Gisalton, Steam, and Cinder was probably the most interesting of this bunch, and based on how it's like its graphical looks, it looks like it should be able to fit on Switch, but it's only releasing on Steam. So unfortunately, that I'll have to probably miss out on that one because I don't really play. I don't really have like any Steam account or really play games on Steam.
Yeah, it's coming May 21st to Steam, but I have a real feeling that it will jump to Switch. I mean, it has that pull. Like I think it would do really well on Switch, and like I said, Flintlock looks great, and I'm hoping for a Switch 2. So then we move on to Hyperlight Breaker, which is the sequel, sort of sequel to Hyperlight Drifter from Heart Machine, and that's coming later this year with an early access. Kill Knight, which is coming later this year in 2024. That's set to launch on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch. This is confirmed for Switch. Kill Knight, so there's one. Lysara Summit Kingdom is a city builder. This I doubt will come to Switch, but we have city scans, skylines and stuff, so it's possible. And then we have Let's School, which is a school management system sim that is also announced for Switch coming later this year from PM Studios. So Greg, from Hyperlight Breaker, Kill Knight, Lysara, and Let's School, anything there jump to you?
Kill Knight did seem kind of interesting because it does kind of give like a more violent version of like the Warrior series that are already on Switch. But I don't know if it will be necessarily something that I will pick up or not. But that was like the main one that at least stood out. And again, like a lot of the games look very incredible and look like very fun to play, but without like a confirmed release on Switch, and also with a huge backlog of Switch games, unfortunately, it's kind of difficult time to be in for that.
Yeah. Yeah, these definitely didn't stand out to me. I think some of them that look cool, like the Hyperlight one, it's a roguelite. We talked about on previous podcast how much I
Mhm.
don't like those anymore. So yeah, looks great, but I won't be playing it because I've just realized I'm not a big fan of those. And yeah, some of the other games, there's not coming to Switch, not even coming to a platform that I could play it if it's just Steam. So, yeah, and I really don't have a desire to run a school in real life or a simulator. So,
It could be like Lawnmower Simulator, you know.
yeah, could be.
Yeah,
I just
Kill
hope that
Knight.
you don't do the same thing to the school you did to that yard.
I want to see if you can. Uh, Kill Knight does look really cool, and Hyperlight Breaker I'm a big fan of, even though it is roguelike. I think it looks great. So those are definitely the two that I'm most excited for. Then we got Mouse. Mouse looks like the developer said, "Hey, Steamboat Willie is now public domain. Let's do a Steamboat Willie style game." Set in the 1930s. It's a FPS noir fueled cartoon game. It actually looks like a lot of fun, and it does a little Popeye essence to eat your spinach and get stronger. They haven't revealed consoles, but I would love to see this come to Switch. My time at Sandrock showed off some multiplayer stuff that is coming to Switch. Never Alone 2, obviously the sequel Never Alone, showed off a brand new trailer. That's with Humble Bundle, so there's a good chance that will hit the Switch. And Norland. Norland is going to early access. This looks like more of a PC game, but we see more and more of those come over. So, Steve, thoughts?
Yeah, not too excited about Norland, but Never Alone sounds great. Never Alone 1 was one of those games that I was pretty excited about, and then I totally skipped over, forgot that it existed. And so to see Never Alone 2, I'm like, yeah, I need to get back into that game, and hopefully I can enjoy this game without playing the first one. If not, I need to go back and actually play that one as well now that I've been reminded that it exists. But yeah, I was excited about that one, excited about this one. And then the other one, My Time in Sandrock, I was not excited about that game before. It just, like, I played a lot of games like it, just really not that excited. But when it said like the cross platform and co-op multiplayer, I'm like, if I have people that I want to play with, that could be a really fun experience. And so I'm glad to see that they've included that. And so I guess just time will tell if I have other friends that are playing that game. It'd be really fun to play it. Like if you guys get into it, or others from our community, and they're like, "Hey, we need to go and play together," that could be a really good experience. But as of now, I'm still going to step back. But I'm very intrigued by the multiplayer update.
Nothing on Mouse from you? I'm shocked.
I mean, you really said whatever I was thinking already. Actually, yeah. So it looks fun. I'll look from afar and see how it goes. But yeah, it looks funny and fun, and yeah, like stripped right out of Steamboat Willie, and Disney inspired for sure.
Yeah, at least for Mouse, it did look kind of somewhat intriguing. And I was initially, when I saw like the heading for that to say like, oh, it's like from like ripped right out of Steamboat Willie, I was like waiting for more stuff to be used, but I didn't really recognize like really anything being pulled out of there. It's not like they have like Mickey Mouse in here, like at least that they showed in the trailer. I don't know if that's like a hidden part they didn't show, but it does have like a Disney probably will try to challenge it, but obviously lose because Steamboat Willie is now in the public domain. But it's like one of those like Pal World, like in Pokemon type situations where it's like, do they have like, yeah, like have full access to do these kinds of things and changing it in this way? And I don't know, it could be a interesting thing to watch on, but it does look like it could be somewhat fun to play. But that was like the main one that stood out like this time around. I'm not really into the most of the genres presented in the other games that we just covered.
Yeah, Mouse looks. I'm not a big first-person shooter guy, but Mouse looks like it could be a lot of fun if done right. So I'm gonna probably stay back and wait and see what the reviews are like. My time at Sandrock, I have the first game. My time at Portia, I believe it was, and I heard good things. I never played it, so it could be one of those that I go with. Never Alone, I never even heard of the first one, or if I did, I bought it and I had sitting on my shelf and I forgot about it. So I'm glad to see the sequel. There's just so many games. Speaking of more games, moving on, we've got Old World. Behind the Thrones DLC was announced coming next month. I believe this is a PC game. Power World, speaking of Power World, is getting an arena game or at least an arena mode added to it to try and keep it relevant.
Pokemon Stadium.
AKA Pokemon Stadium. Yes, exactly what it is. Or Pokemon Coliseum, if you will, too.
That's true.
Raven's Watch, Fall of Avalon update. This is coming April 22nd, so when this is airing, but before it's revealed here. And then Risk of Rain 2 has a free content update featuring Dead Cells crossover. And Risk of Rain, I believe Risk of Rain 2 is on the Switch because I know the first one is already. So it's nice to see crossovers with another indie title and some extra love there. So, Greg, anything here stand out between these four games?
I didn't really see anything that really caught my attention this time around. Again, I mean, a lot of the stuff does look very incredible and could be very fun to play for those that are into those genres and stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you. I've not played Power World. I'm sure I would enjoy it. I really don't think I have anything to. I don't know. Is it on consoles or just PC right now? Yeah, so I think that's all I can play. So I can play it. I'll enjoy it from afar. So yeah, nothing really stood out to me. I think um, unfortunately, a lot of these ones that are shooters and twin stick shooters and all these adventure games and things like Risk of Rain. I think I would enjoy it, but man, and then they throw in that stupid roguelike thing, and I'm like, dang it, you ruined the game for me again. I thought I was going to enjoy this, and then tell me it's a roguelike.
Yeah. I feel you. I'm the same. I'm not a huge fan of roguelikes. I like static. I prefer static and let me make my own progress. But it's nice to see, some crossover stuff. And Power World looks interesting. It's one of those where I was like, oh, I'd probably give it a shot, but because it launched on PC first, I didn't. So maybe by the time it ever comes to consoles, I'll be like, oh, there's enough content for me to go for. Moving on, we've got RKGK, which I forget how exactly they say it, but I know they did mention it. There's a game reveal. This is from Gearbox Publishing and Wabi-Sabi Games. No platforms announced, but this has a good chance, I think, of going to Switch. It's like a graffiti, almost like a Jet Grind Radio in a sense. Shadows of Doubt was announced for consoles. The Sharpshooter Assassin launch trailer. Unfortunately, Switch is not one of those consoles, so it's PS5 and Xbox. Slay the Spire 2, that's going into early access in 2025. The first game did get on the Switch, so hopefully the second one follows suit. And then Streets of Rogue 2 showed off a gameplay trailer that's going to Steam early access next year. It's over the top gameplay. And like a lot of games, they launch on Steam first and then are ported to consoles. So this one I feel has a good chance of hitting the Switch. Any thoughts, Steve?
The one that definitely stood out yet again, similar to the game before, was the one that I was probably not coming to Switch, and that's Shadows of Doubt. It definitely stood out as soon as I saw that. I was like, man, that looks like a good game. But at the same time, I'm like, and they're probably not going to bring it to Switch.
Maybe Switch 2.
I potentially Switch 2 in 2027. But yeah, I think that was definitely the one that stood out the most for sure. And I honestly don't remember whatever that RKGK one is. It's not pronounced that way. I was just joking.
Steve with his pronunciations.
Yeah.
The main one, at least, that stood out to me was definitely Streets of Rogue 2. It looked like a very a SNES version of Grand Theft Auto, and it has like all these different options and ways to go through the games. That did sound very intriguing, and if this is probably my biggest takeaway from this particular one outside like the Cat's Quest 3, because this one really hit like a lot of different things. Like you can be different classes and handle, like you can go through the game in much different formats. So if you want to like even go like guns blazing, they even said you can do that, or you can like do like stealth missions, and they have all sorts of really cool things like built into here. So this was definitely my biggest one that I took away from this entire presentation.
Yeah, Streets of Rogue 2 looks great. Really excited for that, and I can't imagine that not hitting consoles. That would be a missed opportunity. And RKGK looks fantastic. Like that one, I got really excited over, and I'm excited to see more because I love the anime inspired world. I think the colors are vibrant, the world looks cool, and definitely want to see that hit consoles. Uh, then we have Tichia, which was already released on PlayStation, but is now going to the Switch. Has a release date of June 27th. The Last Spell, Dwarves of Runeberg DLC is coming. That is coming on April 24th. That's Steam and GOG, but again, I can see this hitting consoles. Uh, the game that came out of nowhere, the Rogue Prince of Persia. I was watching this trailer and I'm like, this looks like a Prince of Persia game, but no way. Oh, it is a Prince of Persia game. So that's going early access on Steam, and you know it. I can't see this again not hitting consoles, especially with Prince of Persia: Lost Crown just coming out. Just seems very very likely, and we've got Undermine 2 was announced. This is going to be again Steam, but it's another one that they haven't announced consoles, but I can see this hitting the Switch. So Greg, Undermine 2, Rogue Prince of Persia, Last Spell, and Tichia. Anything there that excite you?
The Undermine 2 did look kind of interesting, but I do know there was parts of the trailer that showed like as like bullet hell type scenarios. But I did really love the way they structured the trailer. They constantly go back to the two characters hitting the bomb back and forth, and at the very end they actually show it explode. So that was by far one of the most impressive trailers. How they like kind of like oh, here's what these two characters are doing. They're still hitting the bomb back and forth. And, like it, I don't know. I that one seems the most interesting, just even from a gameplay perspective, because it's just like exploration and like the open world kind of style with the retro graphics and everything. So that one was a bigger takeaway from the set of games too.
Yeah,
Steve,
I think
what about you?
I think Tichia looks interesting. It's kind of like, it almost kind of seems like High Water we just reviewed. You know, it's like it could be really good. It shows a lot of promise and potential there, but it's kind of a wait and see kind of game, I think, for me. The one that definitely stood out, like I caught me completely off guard as well, was the Rogue Prince of Persia. But you know what little word that I didn't like, Barry? Roguelite.
Rogue.
Man, I was like, this is gonna be a great game. Oh, dang it. So
I mean, even the
maybe it'll be different.
presentation.
It's a platformer, so it's different than like an RPG roguelike. So like I might like it a little more because of the style, but I may try this one. But the other
Yeah.
ones, they've scared me off, but I may actually try this one.
Yeah, I do know the presentation was definitely saying a lot of roguelikes in this. Like, oh, like I think we're done with the roguelikes. Just kidding. Here's another one. Like,
Here's another one.
so,
Yeah,
so it's
that's
definitely a
definitely
common theme.
very much so. Tichia, I've heard nothing but good things about. I have it on PlayStation, but I never got around to it. And it's like, oh, here it is on Switch. So I think that's really cool that they're bringing it. It has so much promise. It looks great. Um, and like you said, the Rogue Prince of Persia came out of nowhere. It's weird to see two Prince of Persia games so close. I mean, that's such an IP that you wouldn't think would get that much
Mm-hmm.
love. I mean, that's an IP that died because of Assassin's Creed, and here it is coming back in full force. And I'm willing to give it a shot when it comes to consoles. I'm not a fan of roguelike, but I'm a fan of Prince of Persia, so we'll see how it goes. Finishing up, we've got V Rising, the Legacy of Castlevania gameplay trailer was shown off. Vampire Survivors, which is already out, showed off. It's coming to PlayStation, but they're also showed off Operation Guns, a DLC featuring Contra, coming May 9th, and that is coming to Switch, or to the Switch version. What the Car is announced for Steam with a demo out, and again, I can't see that not hitting the Switch. And Wizards of Legend 2 is the final game. Got to show that off. And again, it's one of those that I can't see not hitting the Switch. So, Steve, finishing this off, Wizard of Legend 2, What the Car, Vampire Survivors DLC, and V Rising.
Yeah, Vampire Survivors 2 seems really cool. I especially with the Contra DLC and stuff like that. I was already interested in, and then they like, oh, Contra DLC, because the game already kind of resembles Contra in a way anyway.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they threw that DLC. I was like, okay, now you've pulled me in. So yeah, definitely interested in Vampire Survivors. And then What the Car just looks so ridiculous. I mean, What the Golf is a ridiculous game already, and so to see What the Car is just like, I didn't think they'd ever do something with a car, because they've got another game I think that's also it maybe just released or almost released too. It's another sport or something. I was like, oh, that makes sense, but I never expected them to release a What the Car. So yeah, I don't know if I'll play it, but I was definitely intrigued by the trailer for sure.
Greg?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that What the Car is probably made by the same developer as What the Golf, but like you can I did complete like What the Golf, and like towards the end like they were trying to do like some car like physics, so that actually doesn't really come out of like left field for me. So that definitely makes sense that that's what they were really trying to get into, or even hint towards like their next project. So I really do hope this one hits Switch or the Switch successor, because I really enjoyed what the golf, like very much so, just like Rain on Your Parade, like those like silly type games that just make keeps a smile on your face as they just do the most craziest things like with the game. So that one's also a huge takeaway, but obviously without it having any council like confirmation, it's kind of stinks at this point. But hopefully, that, like you said, that does get announced, and the graphics style does look very similar to what the Golf, so it obviously wouldn't be that type of limitation. But you never really know what the other types of stuff goes behind the scene with the coding.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to Steam, a lot of developers can just self-publish on Steam. So and because you're developing it already on a PC, it's just the easiest platform to launch on to start with. But that's why a lot of these are like early access. They're only focusing on that right now, but the majority of them will then go to consoles. Like that's just the way it works. So it wouldn't surprise me to see What the Car in a future Nintendo Direct or a future Indie World or something like that. Like it fits perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And that game does look great. Like I didn't play What the Golf. I'm not a big golf guy, but What the Car looked absolutely hilarious, and it almost felt like a fever dream watching that trailer. And I was like, "Yep, I can get behind this. This is just crazy." Vampire Survivors I didn't really mess with. We are releasing Scarlet Tower, which isn't even in more enhanced version with a lot of extra stuff. And then they throw Contra in. I'm like, oh man, now you're putting Contra in Vampire Survivors. Like, so I might have to give it a shot. And V Rising, I've never played this, but you're a vampire, so you have to survive, and you're going against Simon Belmont, and I'm like, that looks really cool. And I'm a Castlevania fan, so depending on how this game is released, this could get me as well, just to mess around with that. So before we end that, final thoughts. This is the first time they're doing this, their very first showcase, getting together. So of course, there's always that leniency of grading things on a first time thing. But we'll go to you, Steve. What did you think of their first ever presentation?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I think what I miss is kind of some sort of host kind of walking you through things. I think would have been helpful. They had some on-screen text that kind of just every once in a while reminded what you're watching. And then they had a break in the middle of it that really wasn't much of a break, and things like that. It was like, okay, that's an odd choice. Overall, it was cool to see all these different games, and there was an overarching theme. Like they had a lot of roguelites. I don't know if that's just the nature of games today, that there's just a bunch of those, or if it just kind of happened that almost half of the games that felt like, maybe wasn't that way, but it felt like half the games they showed off were roguelites at some level. Um, but yeah, I think some sort of cohesive kind of thing bringing it together would have helped. But it was cool. They crammed a lot of games and a lot of information in a very short presentation, relatively speaking, because that's a lot of games. And so yeah, I think I was entertained, but at the same time, it would have been nice to have some guidance through it, because some of these games I'd never heard of the publishers or developers or whatever, and those kind of things help someone along. But yeah, overall it was good.
I pretty much echo those same thoughts, but the only thing I wanted to throw in, at least on mine, was I did notice like a lot, like kind of repetitive type games where you're just kind of like the spamming like buttons to attack lots of enemies, and even some like the tactical nature and building type games. But there wasn't really much representation from like even like platforming games. There was like very few of those, and it felt like a lot of the games like all fit like one like target audience and not necessarily trying to. There was like 0 sports games, so like it just was kind of interesting just to see like a lot of games that have similar types of gameplay and overlapping and stuff, and more variety would have be appreciated. But it's obviously depends on who submits the games, and there's other developers that probably never even heard of this and didn't even know to submit their game. So it just could be the types of games they brought in, or I don't know if they had any type of filtering on what they were actually going to show and which ones made the cut, or if they pretty much showed every single person that submitted something. So
Yeah, I'm with you too, Greg. I'm glad you brought that up because I felt like several of the shooters they showed off, I was like, did I see this already? Like, I think it looks a little different, but it plays the exact same way as that other one they already showed like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, that's one problem with games bleeding together. I just counted there's 36 games were shown off, which is a lot for I think it was like a 40 minute presentation, a 45-minute presentation, or something like that. I agree. I think it was a great first presentation. I think it was great to get out there. I think the team did a great job. Like you said, Greg, my guess is that the games submitted were the ones shown off. I don't know if they turned anyone away. It could have just been like, you want to be a part of this? What can you show? What do you have to bring to the table? And it's like, oh, we have a new trailer for this game that's coming. All right, cool. We can put that in there. It would have been nice to see a little more structure. You said a host would be very good. And that's obviously something that they can build upon, and if this continues, and I hope it does. I think we're at a point now where there's so many games that we need these presentations, because there's so many games. Even what you were saying, like, oh, this fell by the wayside, like Never Alone. I was on my radar and it slipped through the cracks, and it happens all the time. So it's nice to get these reminders. It's nice to get these developers get a time in the spotlight, and some attention and some awareness of their games, and especially if it helps them. So I'm happy to see it. I want to see more of these. There's so many talented developers out there that unfortunately do not get the attention they deserve. So, hats off to the team. I say you did a great job, especially coming out of the gate with your first presentation. You got some great partners, and I look forward to seeing what else you do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's move on to the next presentation. That one's from Nintendo. They had an Indie World Showcase on April 17th. And so as of recording, it was just a couple days ago. But as most of you are going to be listening or watching this, it's going to be about a week ago. But several games shown off, and we'll have the video one running on our video podcast. If you've watch us on YouTube, you can see it over there, but you can also check it out on Nintendo's YouTube channel. First of all, we got Little Kitty Big City. You play as a kitty on your way home, getting distracted along the way. And this is going to be out on May 9th, so not too long, May 9th, 2024. Also, Yars Rising is a new sci-fi action adventure from Way Forward, launching sometime later in 2024. Remind Self, the personality test game, where you're going to play through different decisions that eventually gives you a different personality type at the very end of the game. That's launching sometime in 2024, or the summer of 2024. And then Sticky Business. This is a cozy simulator where you create stickers and send them off to businesses. There's over 400 different elements and lots of other upgrades to choose from, and that launched on that day on April 17th. So you can run your own sticker business. So Little Kitty, Big City, Yars Rising, Remind Self, the personality test game, and Sticky Business. Anything stand out to you from that list, Greg?
Yeah, definitely the first two. So like the Little Kitty Big City did seem kind of interesting. I know there was like some cat games that released, but not on Switch. That did sound like kind of fun, and this kind of almost look it makes more of a playful with this kind of adventure. And I don't know, as I said in the last presentation, like the Cat Quest 3 did sound interesting too. So I don't know if it's just something I want to try games with cats in them. I don't know, but um, it definitely seemed kind of interesting, and it seemed like it still had like that adventure and exploration and stuff like that. So it was something I was gonna try to check out. The Yars Rising also looked kind of fun because it was like an action platformer type game, and I do like those. So that also was the other one that stuck out. And then I think it was pretty much after this one, then it felt like the showcase took a little dive in interest for me for a little while. So
You,
The
you don't want
other,
to play a game that gives you your personality type?
at least not at this point. I wasn't terribly impressed from what I saw, but maybe that's the game for you and Barry to play. But I don't know.
Nice. Barry, how about you?
Yars Rising looks great. It's way forward, and Yars classic series from the early days of Atari. And unlike Greg, Remind Self looks good to me. I think that looks really interesting. I love the psychological parts of the human brain and seeing how things develop and why people make certain decisions. So I think that could be a lot of fun if it's done properly.
Mm,
So I am interested in giving it a shot and seeing what happens,
nice.
provided we get codes or they get to physical.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm intrigued by Remind Self. I don't think I'll be playing it unless we do it for review, but it's intriguing. Sticky Business, I have no interest in whatsoever. Little Kitty, Big City did remind me, Greg. I know the other one was
Right.
Stray, yeah, and so it's
Yeah, that's what it was.
essentially
Yeah.
kind of a cartoon version of Stray, um, but yeah, Yars Rising by far the standout at the beginning, and yeah, so there is the partnership there with Atari, and so yeah, it falls in the lines. I don't know if I ever played like Yars Revenge or any of those other games, but this one, it looks like like almost like a spiritual sequel to Metroid as well. It was like as soon as I saw it, I was like, is this a Metroid game? I thought this was a partner showcase. What are they doing? And come to find out, yeah, it's way forward in Atari bringing out a Yars game that looks great. So that's definitely the one that stood out to me for sure from that section.
Yeah, definitely like Metroid Dread-like, because like you even like crawl through the passage and you're getting chased,
Mm-hmm.
and they were showing the trailer, so it's like the Emmys and stuff are back, but in different form.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the next section of games we saw was Anaton Blast. This is a side-scrolling action platformer releasing on November 12th of this year. Valley Peaks, where you explore and save the valley in 2024 at some point this year. Saw more from Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, which is a game we heard about before, but saw a little more about that. This is a third-person noir mystery puzzler, and it's going to be dropping on May 16th, so just around the corner. And also Europa, which is a 3D action platformer where you search for the mystery behind a fallen civilization. And that has a demo that dropped that day. I haven't checked it out yet, but looking forward to eventually checking it out. Love free demos. So yeah, Anaton Blast, Valley Peaks, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, and Europa. Barry, anything stand out to you?
Anatom Blast also has a demo,
Oh.
and I do want to point out. You say you love free demos. I love the demos you have to pay for. Those are the ones that really gets me going.
That makes
But
sense.
Anatom Blast looks great. It looks like a Wario Land style game, which is funny because Nintendo hasn't made Wario Land in a while. So it's like someone else is like, fine, we'll do it. So it looks like it could be a lot of fun if done properly. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Lorelei and the Laser Eyes has me intrigued. I like mystery games, so I guess we'll see how it plays. And Europa took me by surprise. Like it looks like it could be a lot of fun. I like open world games, and this looks like it could be a really cool title. So I don't know if I'll play the demos or I'll just wait. But it's nice that there are demos available.
Yeah. Greg, how about you?
Yeah, the Europa did kind of seem pretty interesting. I always worry about how much time I'll actually be able to dedicate into like some of these ginormous games, and even the Anton Blast one did seem kind of interesting. But I feel like some of the platformers that really dive into like the high speed stuff is not usually the stuff I get terribly far in, because I feel like those difficulties spike kind of, at least for me, it feels like it just jumps up kind of fast, and so I don't know if that one was right for me, but you never know until you kind of see more of the finished project or if there's actual demo. So I'll probably be checking out some of the demos to at least see if there's other ones that could potentially change my mind. But those were at least the main two that had stuck out this time around.
Yeah, I think it's great to hear. I for some reason I missed that there was a demo for Anatom Blast as well. So yeah, any action platformer, I'll get excited about it as long as it's not a roguelite. Uh, but yeah, I think that was one that it just looks crazy, like you said, like a Wario Land style. And Laurel Island Laser Eyes, man, I feel like there's so many things that I could like about that game, but it makes me pause, and I'm not really sure if I'm gonna like everything about it. But there's aspects of it that I think I would really, really enjoy. Valley Peaks did not interest me at all. It kind of looked
No.
really boring. I don't know.
Yeah.
I watched that and was like, nope, I don't want to play that game. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
even from the description, it sounded like that one game that we reviewed where you're like in the Scottish land and exploring like the different hills.
Mm,
But just at least
yeah.
by the description of it, I know it's not the same. It's not going in like the
Oh yeah.
foreground, the pre-ground, but just based on that description, it sounded like it.
Yeah. Let's see. Europa, yeah, glad that we got a demo for that, and so be checking that out as well. And then we got a game that I'll just say at the very beginning, I'm excited about any Ninja Turtles game. So we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. It's a 4-player action adventure coming out in July of 2024. Of course, Cat Quest 3 that we talked about already, this isometric action adventure. August 8th is when that releases on Nintendo Switch. Also a game called Stitch. This is a cozy handmade embroidery by number game. It also contains daily shikaku puzzles, as well as weekly embroidery hoops that are added each week, and that was also dropped that day. And then we can just stop there. So those three: TMNT, Cat Quest 3, and Stitch. Greg, anything stand out to you there?
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about in the last presentation, I was looking forward to Cat Quest 3. I mean, I never played the first two, but like even this one seems pretty interesting just to be able to jump in and play. The I know Steve's favorite word with the roguelike happens in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle game,
I
so
know
hopefully
it.
he'll get past that. But they did
We'll see.
explain there is some permanence to it, like you get like some artifacts and stuff. So hopefully that will win you over. But yeah, that one looked really great. I probably will also be getting that one because I had a lot of fun with that other Turtles game. I came blanking on the name of it that
Shredder's
came out like
Revenge.
Shredder's Revenge. So that one does look pretty fun as well too. So pretty much a hard pass on Stitch. and not really into like the crocheting and stuff. I mean, the art and stuff looked really cool, and how there's different size puzzles for to handle like your playtime and stuff. That all sounded awesome, but probably just not the game for me. So, yeah.
Nice. Barry, how about you?
This is a great group of games. TMNT looks like Hades. So, Hades was a great roguelike game. And while I'm not a big roguelike guy, I really did enjoy Hades. So this kind of felt like a 4-player Hades. And the big thing for me with roguelikes is there has to be some kind of permanence. There has to be some kind of where I feel I'm making progression and I'm actively getting better and stronger. So I'm like that. Cat Quest 3, I mentioned before, I absolutely can't wait for it. It looks fantastic, and I loved the first two. And unlike Greg, I almost bought Stitch last night. Digital. If it was cheaper than 15, I probably would have, because it reminds me of P-Cross, and I love P-Cross, and it just looks like a nice, relaxing puzzle style game. And you know, it's very intriguing, and my wife and I were both looking at it, and there's a possibility, one of us will pick it up, but it definitely, it's not the type of thing that I'll sit there and spend hours upon hours, but it's more like hey, you know what, I've got 10, 15, 20 minutes, and I just want to relax and do a puzzle or two, and that could be something that could scratches that itch. So there's a potential I wound up picking that up. Maybe we can get review kits.
Yeah, maybe. And then TMNT is the definite standout. Cat Quest 3, like the more I see of that game, it does look really fun, but I just feel weird because I do have one or two or both of them, and I barely touch them. But maybe
So good though.
maybe yeah. I like the idea of like them doing the water combat and everything. That looked really fun.
It's not a roguelike either, by the way.
That's good. Maybe that already bumps it up right there. Yeah, I kind of forgot that TMNT was also a roguelike, Greg. Thanks for reminding me about that. But yeah, like you said, it might be, it's not like full on like some of the other ones. And so the idea of some of those things still remaining permanent is nice. Then we got a sizzle reel of games called Buzzed. I think is how you pronounce that, Buzzed. And then Schism and Animal Well, and Duck Detective, the Secret Salami, and then another Crab's Treasure, which we have seen before. I think a lot of these games we've seen before, but just kind of shown off really quick. So Buzzed, Schism, Animal Well, Duck Detective, The Secret Salami, and another Crab's Treasure. Barry, any of these stand out to you?
Yeah, Bzzzt, is a fantastic game. It's a fantastic game. I've played it on Steam already, and it is awesome. And I can't wait to test it out on Switch. It is just a really really cool platformer. And then I know another well was it the one YouTuber's game, Big Mode. It's his studio, so that looks kind of interesting. And another Crab's Treasure. I like that. Every time I've seen it, like this looks really intriguing, and I know it's silly, especially with like a cardboard box working as a shell, but it's like a cartoony Dark Souls, and it could be a lot of fun. So I'm intrigued enough to give it a shot, especially if we get codes.
Yeah, Greg, how about you?
Definitely the bzzz sounded pretty good to me. I mean, I haven't played it yet, but that was pretty much like a right up my alley with like that Metrovania platformer style thing, and looks like a lot of fun there. The Animal Well looked like pretty interesting as well too, so might be checking out that one. And I believe I did say that another Crab's Treasure on a previous podcast that didn't really sound as interesting, but I don't know if it was just the way this trailer was, but it really caught my attention this time around. So like I did have like that notated in my notes to hopefully try to check this out as well too. So it was a pretty good sizzle reel for me. I really liked most of the ones that were shown here.
Nice.
I know that I think the one I didn't talk about kind of reminded me like of a different version of like Fluidity, where you're just jumping in between shadows, and that was kind of intriguing. But I don't know if it was going to be the game for me though. But it did kind of remind me of Fluidity, how you're just like pretty much going for like gathering like only in safe spots and stuff like that too. So
nice. Yeah, Buzzed is probably the only one that really stood out to me. I don't know if I'll play it or not, but it seemed like something I would enjoy for sure. And it's great to hear, Barry, if you played it already and saying it's great. That's cool. So yeah, the rest of them are interesting. I think another Crab's Treasure is funny, and I'm sure it'll be a fun game. But yeah, I'll probably skip it. But yeah, Buzzed I might actually end up picking up. And then finally, we got a little surprise here at the end because
Silksong. I mean, what?
What's that?
Silksong, right?
yeah, Silksong. No, we're getting Steam World Heist 2. So the waters have turned deadly, and it's time to go out and find out what has caused these waters to go deadly. So you're going to explore the world and engage in a real-time naval combat, befriend steam bots, strategically craft your crew, and fight in turn-based battles in this game that's going to be dropping on August 8th of 2024. Steam World Heist 2 is finally coming out and announced and coming out to Nintendo Switch. Very excited about Steam World Heist 2.
I never played any of the SteamWorld games, although I own them, and I've heard nothing but good things. But it's just one of those that it doesn't do anything for me. I've heard great things. It's probably a marathon I'll get to down the road, years later. But there's been so many other games that it's like, I haven't jumped into them. But I'm so happy for the SteamWorld fans, and I feel like SteamWorld Quest and SteamWorld Heist almost got like the short end of the stick because everyone talks about SteamWorld Dig, and so it's great to see Heist get a sequel.
Yeah, Greg, how about you?
Yeah, I didn't play the first Heist, but this one definitely sounded like it was going to be pretty interesting. So I might be having to check out the first one and potentially even get this one as well. I mean, I did play SteamWorld Dig, like the initial ones that a lot of these robots I think start in, but and I had really obviously liked those, and I understand Heist is a completely different style of game, but it did seem like it was pretty interesting and might be just something I'd jump into closer to the release time.
Yeah, I'm actually really surprised that you haven't played any of those, Barry. I'm
homework assignment time.
I know.
NintendoFuse homework stamp for Barry.
I know.
I've said I might do a marathon later on when
go.
there's less things to play.
I played both SteamWorld Dig games. Great I had a lot of fun with both games. I played a little bit of Heist 1. It's not my style of game. The just that the way that they do things is not my style with this strategy, turn based and all that stuff. But like you said, Greg, like with them adding some extra stuff to this one, I'm like, oh, okay, maybe this one actually might be something I would enjoy. So yeah, it makes sense that they would announce it, but it kind of came out of left field. It was like, oh, it's been a while for the whole SteamWorld genre as well, or not genre, but IP and stuff too. So kind of almost forgot about it until they shut it off. So that was cool. So real quick, what's your thoughts just overall on this indie showcase? Go to you first, Greg.
Overall, I felt it was a pretty strong presentation. So there was a lot of stuff that really interested me, and I know I'd said it like with the previous showing that we talked about, there was definitely a lot more variety this time around, and that's because it's like Nintendo's able to curate the list. So I thought it was definitely a pretty strong presentation and lots of games to look forward to.
Cool. Barry, how about you?
Yeah, I thought it was one of those where I think when I was watching it, it was kind of like, that wasn't the most exciting. But then, like, going back through and looking at it, I'm like, oh, you know what? This was actually better than I remember it being. And I thought there's some great titles. I'm excited to see them get the spotlight and them come out. And of course, it's they're the poor backs on these developers because they really have to carry the Switch now for the most part, because it seems Nintendo is not not showing a lot right now. So
yeah, definitely relying on indies, at least for now, indies and remakes. But let's go ahead and move into our last section before we wrap up on this episode. Games that are coming out over the next couple weeks. Our next episode will be dropping on May 7th, 2024. And that will either be a pre-recorded one or live. We haven't decided yet, but it's going to be dropping in your subscription boxes and here on YouTube on May 7th. So until then, there's only a couple games that really stood out to me when I was looking through the list from Metacritic. On April 30th, we're getting Braid. It's finally coming to Nintendo Switch. And then on May 2nd, we get Endless Ocean Luminous. So, Greg, anything stand out to you that's coming out that you're going to be playing, or are you going to be hopping on the backlog, playing some more of Roblox? What are you going to be doing?
Hopefully powering on the Switch this time around and getting to those review games. But I believe Braid was the main winner for like this time around. That's one I've been really excited for since it was shown coming to Nintendo consoles. So quite possibly we'll be getting that one near release. But that was pretty much, I think, the main one that stood out to me.
Nice. Barry, how about you?
Yeah, so Eden Chronicles 100 Heroes is one I kickstarted, so one I'm excited for. And Endless Ocean, like you mentioned. And the other game I'm excited for that's not on Switch is Stellar Blade on PlayStation. That's looking really nice. So it's going to be a busy 2 weeks, and I'm here for it. I'm ready.
Sweet. Yeah, I forgot there's also a new Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle Chomp Champs game that's coming out. I don't know if I'm going to be holding my breath about that game, but hey, it's Pac-Man, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think I'm just going to be plugging away on some backlog games, some other games that I think we'll be reviewing soon. Playing some of the SNES games and some other stuff on the NSO and stuff like that. As I travel, I like to be able to get games that I can start and stop really quick, because won't be able to really dive into too many games over the next couple of weeks. So probably no big RPG elements or Life is Strange kind of games, although those are all now behind me. But yeah, probably picking up a lot of games that I can play for a few minutes here and there and move on. So well, that brings us to the end of this episode. Like I said, the next episode is going to be dropping on May 7th, 2024. And, maybe we'll be talking about some more details if we're actually going to get a Switch 2 this time. Maybe not, probably. Just more rumors that are going to be popping out and all that sort of things. But thank you guys so much for joining me, Barry and Greg, as always. And thanks for everybody tuning in. And hope to see you on a next live episode as well. This will be dropping on our YouTube. If you're watching this already, you've already watched it, but we do like to premiere those episodes at the same time that we would normally go live. But be sure to catch us live and join in the chat room on every other Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific Time. And we'll see you in the live chat and interact with you. But episode 291 is coming at you May 7th, and we'll see you then. Happy gaming, everybody.
See ya.
See you next time.